Bunny tells the story of a young man exiled to the Russian backwoods, who must survive amid school realities and the supernatural happenings. The story is divided into 5 episodes. In the first 4, you can still make sense of what's going on, but the 5th one completely throws you off. We dive into why it turned out this way, and whether the game deserves the backlash in this review. The game's events unfold in the period right after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Adults were desperately trying to survive back then, while young people were discovering a new world. The game vividly depicts the foreign movies and cartoons, game consoles, and synthetic snacks that started appearing among the population. The characters are dressed in period-appropriate fashion. Younger generations can explore the in-game dictionary, which describes these referenced elements. At the center is a young family that, due to dire financial straits, has to move into the grandmother's inherited house. The narrative is told from the perspective of Anton, a bespectacled boy who's good at drawing. The most important person to Anton is his younger sister Olia, whom the parents won't let out of the house, so she spends her days watching cartoons and playing on the console. The first episode reveals the nuances of the family's life. The father and mother constantly argue, making the kids terrified of hearing the scary D-word divorce. Summer break is ending soon, and Anton will have to go to school, where it's hard for the boy to make friends with his peers. Anton is being fed pills, and he keeps seeing things. The horror element is bolstered by the house's location next to a dense forest. At night, the woods become a prime source of nightmares, leaving you wondering, are the visions shown in the game just fantasy or reality? Olia also complains about an owl stalking her at night. Things get even scarier when a policeman shows up to report a missing child. Subsequent episodes tell the story from the perspectives of realism and the supernatural. Realism, a significant focus is on Anton's school visits, which require trekking through the forest. At school, Anton is bullied by a nasty fat thug. The player can choose to fight back or endure it. But the thug's 2 sidekicks always make their presence known, a sociopath named Roma and his hyena-like cackling lackey. You can form a so-called friendship with the bullies or stand up to them, but most of them will keep ruining the player's life until the very end. Image rights belong to Seikono. Sokar and Serenity Forge. Anton can pursue relationships with girls his age. A girl named Polina takes an interest in him. She's into music, dreams of escaping the town, and enjoys watching dogs suffer. In the 5th episode, the game forces a romance subplot with a girl named Katya. It gets worse because this romance arc leads nowhere. Conversations with female characters reveal Anton as a repulsive person, as he thinks about wanting to drink Polina. Boys his age usually have other interests, but apparently this early bloomer hit puberty ahead of schedule. Minigames tied to female characters include playing a duck hunt parody with his sister, jamming on guitar with Polina, or frying cutlets with Katya. Image rights belong to Seikono. Sokar and Serenity Forge. The tragedies that unfold have a grounded nature. The child disappearances are blamed on a maniac hauling garages through the taiga. A hitman sent by Anton's father's former colleagues also enters the picture. All these illogical events are chalked up to Anton's unhealthy mental state and hallucinations. The tension builds around the question, do the pills he's taking help his sanity, or are they the source of the visions? On his first trip to school, Anton encounters a girl in a realistic fox mask. The fox Alice claims she lives in the forest and lures Anton with promises of endless sweets. Hanging around Alice is a stray dog named Zhuchka. In reality, Zhuchka is a background character needed for some endings, but for some reason, she gets more screen time than certain main characters. Image rights belong to Seikono, Sokar and Serenity Forge. As the game progresses, Anton meets more kids in animal masks, whom only he and his sister can see. The critters pretend to be friendly and constantly invite him to play in the woods. The paranormal aspect hinges on these beings being linked to the disappearances. It won't be a secret to anyone that these shady figures are monsters subservient to the forest master. The monsters crave human flesh, and by the time they drop their masks, they want Anton to procure meat for them. The player's choices determine, will the protagonist retain his humanity in this situation? For over 2 years, loyal fans awaited the game's finale. Before the 5th episode released, the game enjoyed positive reviews, but exiting early access triggered a flood of negative ones. Players were furious that the 20 endings tied to the 5th episode didn't wrap up the plot. Instead, they stripped it of any meaning and spawned thousands of new questions. To make the disaster easier to grasp, I'll cite the 1992 game Otojuraizo as an example. Otojuraizo is a Japanese visual novel about a young couple encountering the supernatural. Its hallmark is branching paths that alter events. The setting and characters stay the same, but player actions lead to different stories, each with a logical beginning, middle, and end. Image rights belong to Seikono, Sokar and Serenity Forge in Zacic. Many actions and plot points yield unsatisfying results. With one exception, friendship or enmity with the bullies ends the same way. Pursuing Polina or Katia's romance leads to the same outcome, where Anton must decide whether to take the pills or not. The lack of meaningful choice is offset by the brutality of scenes tied to refusing the pills. The endings contradict each other and leave you stumped. In supernatural endings, the monsters shrug off regular weapons, with power enough to have chomped chunks out of the moon in the past. Yet in those same branches, the moon shown isn't bitten. In other endings, characters confirmed as monsters are dispatched with ordinary weapons. In more realistic endings, it turns out the culprit was a guy on a tractor or the protagonist himself. Meanwhile, the game aggressively hints that supernatural events happened in parallel. It's just that the bloodthirsty monsters all decided to sit quietly during the key events. I skipped some endings because they require sacrificing Zhuchka or my sister. Luckily, there are videos online with all of them. From those, you learn the remaining ones ramp up the insanity even further, which is an achievement in itself. It's disheartening that the vast majority of endings are bad and heavily rely on brutal scenes. In the good one, Olia starts a family, but even there's a catch. I count as good the one where you can sacrifice Roma. It felt as satisfying as finally shooting Kenny in Telltale's The Walking Dead. Zacic suffers from a lack of clear narrative direction. The plot simultaneously tries to be serious and grounded, terrify with folkloric horrors, pretend it's all hallucinations, and turn monsters into a galactic threat capable of devouring planets. Because the game tries to do everything, it fails at everything properly. You can ignore the 5th episode's issues, enjoy the nostalgic views and atmosphere from the recent past, and appreciate the voice acting. Zacic deserves praise for not shying away from brutal scenes, but it's ruined for horror by making all characters unlikable, especially the protagonist. When you only care about Olia's fate out of everyone, the rest evoke no emotions or interest. The developers claim they've heard player complaints and are working to fix the 5th episode. From the bottom of my heart, I wish them luck. It'll take no less titanic effort than creating the game itself.